It's recording.
Hi. It's Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee says, it struck me looking at 2016 that people are getting the wrong views of everything. Take the fellow who is the new Jihadi John. Does it matter that much? No, it doesn't actually matter that much. Not if you're actually doing the job of actually fighting these people. You don't have to fight them, but if you're doing that job, and what you do, you set them up as a big thing. You set them up as a thing in masks, and you set them up as something which is a great threat. And they say, well, we know we're going to land in the United Kingdom and we're going to invade, and there'll be Sharia law. And you think to yourself, well, in 2016, that's already happening. That's already happening here. They didn't have to invade. They don't invade in the sense that you imagine they're going to invade. They are already here. That's not an alarmist, or it's not a racist, it's not a counter-religion thing. That's the fact. And if you happen to be something like MI5, the security service, you've got a couple of thousand people working operationally, having days off, not having days off, going on leave, not having leave, going on training courses. There's not many people. They're training and to look after or to tail, to get information on perhaps 3,000 suspects, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 suspects. We're underprivileged in many ways, but we're understaffed in all ways. We're trying to actually catch the people that bedevil our society. It's a small point, but it's worth looking into. We also have the other point about 2016, and that the real things in 2016 are going to be things like this. They're going to be the economies. The economies are not as great as they appear to be. Look what the Chinese are doing at the moment. They're having to close for one afternoon their stock exchange, and that's because the prices are falling. And if prices on their stock exchange are falling, then people will stop investment. And if they stop investment, it will get worse, and there'll be tensions. And if you start then moving across this way from the east to the west, start looking what's going on in Pakistan and India. Pakistan and India are twitchy with each other. Look at Pakistan. Pakistan is actually the security solution to Afghanistan. Pakistan is the Pakistan military. It's supplying all a lot of the weaponry and also the money for Taliban. And so unless Pakistan backs off or somebody can get them together and sort things out with them of a future planning for Afghanistan, then there's going to be no future for Afghanistan. Once again abandoned, no future for it. And the other thing, of course, is that ISIS is now moving into Pakistan against Taliban. So therefore, disaster in many people's views. Other people say, well, that's how Afghanistan has existed in beyond living memory in the 1830s, where the Afghan wars. You come into the Middle East, and you've got now the great schism between Shiite and Sunni Muslims. It's the Great War, isn't it, between Saudi Arabia, by Western standards, totally corrupt. But because they can hand out defence contracts, there's nothing we actually would do about that. No great protest we make about it. And then you've got the other landlord of the East, of the Middle East, Iran. Iran, they are Shiites. And Shiites don't like the Sunnis, never have done for, 400, 500, 600 years now. So we've got them against Saudi Arabia. That's no way to try and bring about a solution to Syria, is it? Because you need both Iran and Syria guaranteeing some sort of solution, some sort of transition in Syria. So that's not going to happen. It's not simply that it's a mess. It's a mess that has proved two things. One is that the so-called West, the coalition, has been willing to abandon the people it's fought with or fought in their countries. The other thing is the great power, the great superpowers, Russia and America, no longer have, in spite of all their weaponry, in spite of all their wealth, in spite of all their power, such as oil with the Russians, the Americans with their hardware, they can't fix things anymore. They can't fix what most people expect them to do. It's a problem, let's get in there and fix it. You can't do it. There you go. That's enough for one morning, isn't it, for anybody?